What is your favorite part about doing podcasts? Is it talking to the different people? Like for me, that's probably what my favorite part is, because a lot of these people I would probably never run into in my life ever. But I know for Havok, his favorite part is the editing. He loves it. I don't know why, but he thinks it's great.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Space Tomatoes podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Havok.
I'm LX, the other guy, right here. Hello. Welcome back.
Guy.
All those things.
Love him. Today, we're joined by a special guest, Jon Francois, host of The Delicious Culture with Jon Francois. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Jon.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. I was listening to one of your recent episodes with the lawyer. That was a really fascinating listen. So I'm so glad to be here. You guys do a great job.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we've tuned into a few of your episodes as well. So where did the idea for the...
I'm sorry about that, by the way.
No, wonderful stuff. Where did the idea for The Delicious Culture come from?
So I've been podcasting for 6 years, and when I started podcasting in 2020, it was merely an extension of what I was doing in commercial radio. I had been working in this sort of music-based, entertainment-based commercial radio format for 8 years, and was still doing that during the pandemic. And I loved the creative freedom that podcasting gave that I could not get from like FCC regulated airwaves. So I decided to get into podcasting, I think 9 years too late, because I listened to podcasts way back in 2011 and thought, oh, wow, this is wonderful. Like, I remember listening to, and these are, OG guys, Mark Maron, Adam Carolla. I think Adam Carolla still does a podcast. Welcome to Night Vale, I think, is still going on. A podcast version of the NPR show, Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. And I had an iPod to let you know how long ago this was. So I was just captivated by the fact that like, oh, these are shows that are made for the internet that you can just like listen to on your iPod. And I thought that it was like this big complicated thing to make these. So of course, for nearly a decade, I just never followed through on it and was just doing more traditional media sort of things like public access television, college radio. So in 2020, I finally decided to come around to try out the podcasting thing. And fortunately, I found this platform called Anchor, which is now called Spotify for Creators, where literally you just record something, upload the file, and then boom, they'll distribute it to all the major platforms where people listen to podcasts. Obviously, Spotify and Apple and SiriusXM and Amazon, etc. So just to start with, being in radio, I always loved the morning radio show format. I got into radio because of conversation, and morning radio, that's the day part where conversation and personality is the most key. So I did something called the Anything Show with Jon Francois, which was just this goofy show influenced by morning radio, where it's like, all right, we're going to just give you like these quick headlines that really don't have any significance to your life or the world. It could just be something goofy like, 57% of people say that dogs should have, I don't know, t-shirts on their butt. Like, what do you think about that, guest? It was just like really stupid shit like that. And then, I'd play like viral video clips, and I'd have like 10 minutes with a guest that I found through the Premier Radio Networks syndicate. When I worked in commercial radio, like we would always get these emails from Premier Networks where it's like, hey, do you want to have like 10 minutes with this B or C level celebrity? Could be an author, actor, musician, whatever. So I'd put that in. So yeah, it was pretty much a multi-format radio crazy variety show thing that I did in the beginning of my podcasting journey. So I did that for about 3 years. And then for the next 2 following that, I was noticing a rewatch podcast craze. People watching old shows from their childhood or cast members from these old shows, going back and recapping episodes and talking to people who worked on the show. And I was really fascinated by that concept. So I decided to just take a big swing and change the format to a 90s rewatch style podcast. It was called The Delicious Recap. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the 90s sitcom Family Matters with Steve Urkel and all that nonsense.
Did
so
I do
me
that?
and yeah. Did I do that? Do you got cheese? Like, it just all the catchphrases, So me and a co-host that I worked with at the time, we decided to dive into that. You know, we recapped episodes from the first 2 seasons and talked to many guest cast and crew that worked on the series. And I definitely appreciate that 2 years that we had, and we had some fans who liked what we were doing. And you know, after 2 years, I think me and that co-host found out that, oh God, this is a lot of work. Because it would literally, like, you know, without the commercials, the Family Matters episodes are like, what, 22 minutes? So you would think that, like, oh, okay, like watching the episode and having thoughts or notes on it would be simple. But for someone like me who wants to, like, break down every scene, every moment, every funny joke, you know, each time I had to prep for a recap, it was like 3, 4, 5 hours out of my day because I was always stopping. I was pausing the 22-minute episode like every 2 seconds to like write down like, oh, here's what I found fascinating. So at first that became fun, but after a while it was a grind. And there's only so many guest cast and crew that are interested in coming on this podcast. We had quite a few, but the well started to run dry. And Family Matters is 9 seasons long. So I reached a point where I said to my co-host, like, I don't know if this is like a good long-term sustainable idea. And so then we pivoted once again. And it was, I believe, in the late summer of 2025 that we started the Delicious Culture. And that originally became a sort of pop culture, current events commentary podcast with my co-host, AJ Vandertunt. And, 3 or 4 months into that time, I decided that it would be best if we split our partnership after 5 years, because it was getting to a point where we weren't on the same page in terms of like the amount of focus that we're putting on the content and, you know, posting on social media and stuff like that. So once he left, that put me in sort of this high pressure situation of like, all right, how do I want to reformat this podcast? Like, how do I want to reignite it as me as a solo act? So then it just gradually became what it is now, which is, I've always loved talking and getting to know different sorts of interesting people like you guys, yourself. I hope to have you on the podcast someday if you're interested.
That would be wonderful.
And yeah, and now, especially I'm a solo act. I'm not one of those podcasters that likes to talk by themselves for an hour. Like, I always love to talk with people, get to know people, have conversations with others. So now it's just this sort of cavalcade of like, I'm having people that I'm meeting for the first time, either through the Podmax service, which is how you guys and I hooked up. I'm having old friends from school or family members come on, and obviously we have that shared personal history and connection, so we can vibe off of that. Basically, now the Delicious Culture is I get to know people's story, and the common thread for all the guests is that I ask them what I like to call my 3 delicious questions, which is what's a delicious meal you've had lately? What's a delicious piece of pop culture that you're obsessed with right now? And what is a delicious thing that's happened in your life lately? So that's where I'm at right now, 6 years later, is just having fun conversing with people and just seeing how they answer these 3 questions, because everybody, of course, has their own unique way of answering those questions. And it's been really fun. Podcasting used to be like this thing that I had like a love-hate relationship with, because, for a good amount of time, I would say for the first 4 years of it, I was doing it while I was also doing radio. And between radio and podcasting, I was pumping out a lot of content. So I was easily getting burned out and would have some hiatuses from the podcast because the radio jobs I was doing, I mean, that was putting food on the table. That was paying my bills. And once I decided to leave the radio industry back in 2024 and gradually decided to put more focus into podcasting, now all of my creative energy is put toward that. And now I'm excited. I'm excited about podcasting in a way that I've never been excited before. And that's pretty much about it. I'm sorry if that's a rambling story, but
that's
good.
That's good.
That's in a nutshell my story. Yeah.
What is your favorite part about doing podcasts? Is it talking to the different people? Like for me, that's probably what my favorite part is, because a lot of these people I would probably never run into in my life ever. But I know for Havok, his favorite part is the editing. He loves it. I don't know why, but he thinks it's great.
Lie.
So Roy
Only
Paquette
lies detected.
Yeah, so Roy Paquette from the Podcaster Nation, who I was on his podcast recently, and I essentially told him about the love-hate relationship that I have with editing. So with podcasting, what I love about it is right now with this format, again, it's definitely like being able to talk to a different guest as much as I can every single week. I think that just keeps it fresh and interesting, is to talk to a different personality, see what dynamic I have with them, see what I can get to know about them. And also it's just being involved in the creative process. Like, I don't know if I would be one of those big name podcasters where I just come in, press record, talk, and then have a team just produce and edit everything. I love having creative control over the product, as tiring as it can be, because, I Uber and Lyft drive to actually pay the bills. So between that and all the time I'm putting into podcasting, it can be a lot, but I don't know if I would change what I'm doing, because to be able to have a conversation with somebody and both enjoy the present moment, the jokes and the engaging stories they have to tell. And also, in the back of my mind during that conversation, I could just be like, oh my God, like, I think I've already have the title of the episode, or, oh, I think this could make an interesting social media clip, what they're saying right now. And then afterwards being able to like actually dive into Riverside, which is the website that I use to record and edit my podcast, and just kind of like play around with the content and the clips and all that stuff. I think that's what it is. I think it's just that balance of like, my pure love of socializing and getting to know different kinds of people, and also creating an interesting product out of it that you could listen and watch at the end of the day.
Do you think that the AI tools make things easier these days?
Yeah. I mean, I have a conflicting relationship with it, because like, I know that specifically, I mean, my wife, Tony, she was on my podcast not so long ago.
That's another, I saw her on an episode, but how do you get your wife on there? Because I've tried mine forever and she's no. So what is your secret to do it? Because I would say that's one of your biggest success stories so far in podcasting.
It's getting my wife to do the podcast.
We've both been trying for a year now, so.
Yeah, no. For the partners of us who do this, it's not always easy, and I get it. Like, they may not be in the same field that we are. They may be shy to get in front of a mic. So I totally get that. I mean, my wife, Tony, I mean, she first came on during my Anything Show days back during the pandemic, not too long after we met. And she has always supported me from day one. I like pretty much started listening to the podcast from like the moment that we met, and I told her that I had a podcast, and so
she's a fan.
No, not a fan. No. She's certainly enjoyed some episodes that she's listened to. Nowadays, it's to a point where, understandably, like, she's more leaned into her own interests, and that's totally fine. I mean, that's how it usually is with like spouses and partners and whatnot, is that, they, if you first meet them, or if you first tell them you have a podcast, they'll dive in and listen and see what it's about. And they'll either love it and stick with it, or they may tune into a few episodes here and there that interest them. But for the most part, they're doing their own thing, and that's totally fine. So as far as getting Tony on the podcast, I convinced her pretty early on when we were, back when we were just boyfriend and girlfriend. I knew that she was great at socializing and having a public speaking presentation because I've seen her in action with friends and relatives and such. I obviously with, her and I talking, I know she lights up a room. She has a great personality. She is, she works as a veterinary technician and also is president of a dog rescue. So there's also that part of it that means that she's just very well skilled at learning how to communicate. And sure, when she gets on the podcast, she will be much more quieter and toned down than she is in real life. But it is what it is. I mean, it's still, for me, I think it's still great to have out as a product because then I am naturally, comfortable doing this podcast, being in control, being the host. I can joke around, goof around, be comfortable with her because she's my wife. And then, she has like the response of someone who's just like, okay, Jonathan, you're just crazy. Like, I don't know. I think even if she's toned down, it's still a great dynamic to be like, hey, I'm the crazy person. And she's the more like mature adult person trying to, keep me in check and make sure that we're not talking about poop or whatever. Yeah. I mean, if that makes sense, that's my answer. It's just like, she knows how much this podcast means to me. She's already great as a communicator. And even though, there have been times where she's expressed like hesitation or a little bit of nervousness coming on, the more she's come on, the more she's like, yeah, sure, I'll help you out. Like, pretty much anytime I ask her, it's like, if we have like a free Sunday and we're not doing anything, then, and especially if we're like, tuning into some big pop culture moment like Euphoria on HBO and we want to talk about it, like, there you go. So that's certainly great because every week I'm trying to pump out a new guest. So if every now and then I could have like reoccurring reliables like my own wife, that's for all the better.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You hear that, Mrs. LX?
Yes, come on the Space Tomatoes. It's worth it. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm just giving her a hard time.
Yeah.
She gotta do whatever she's comfortable with. No, I think it's great you have her on though.
Yeah. Every now and then. Obviously, I don't want to ruin a good thing.
Right.
But it's always fun to have her on.
So one of the things you've described from your time in radio, at least I saw it in a couple of areas, is you described that as a toxic environment. Why is that? I always thought of radio as probably being like a super fun and, interesting, chill, laid back, maybe some pranks and jokes going on.
Oh, it can be. I apologize. I probably should have like put out a more nuanced opinion about radio. So yeah, it definitely. I definitely had a lot of fun moments with listeners, with just having conversations by myself and communicating to whoever wants to listen. Like definitely a lot of fun moments to be had over my 8 years in radio. The toxicity that I'm talking about is it's a very lowly paid profession, and it's that classic thing like, a fast food worker where it's like, oh, great, overworked, underpaid. Like they want a lot out of you. A lot of times you could be doing like 4 or 5 jobs for the price of one. That's actually usually the case. Never mind. I got into radio for being on the air. Like I love being on the air. I love talking. And if that is the only goal, then sure, radio can work as a part-time profession. But I was at a point early in my radio career where I wanted to make it a living, where I wanted to make it full-time. And when it becomes full-time, that's where it can get tricky, because then it's like, all right, not only am I on the air, but now I'm also the production director. I'm in charge of producing all the commercials. Maybe I'm in charge of setting up equipment or training in, new radio station employees that probably shouldn't be there because they have no business being on the air. Like you quickly find out why radio can be a difficult thing to work in when you do it full time. So that's where I think it became a slippery slope. I think that if I stuck to it as just a part-time thing where it's like, oh, I'm the weekend on air personality. I just come in and you know, fuck around on the air for a few hours and then leave and go do my thing. Maybe I'd still be working in radio, but like getting into it full time, really just having headaches with the boss who, again, doesn't want to pay you enough, but expects you to work like every holiday except Christmas. The fellow coworker who's been there for many years and has a chip on his shoulder about, you know, oh, like, why do you get to take this day off and that day off when I can't, when he really can? He just doesn't have the guts to do that. And having clients who you record commercials for, who are just very persnickety and rude in how they communicate, and you want to tell them off, and you do, but then you get in trouble as if like you don't deserve to have respect and dignity and such. So and there's certainly an old guard to radio management. There is certainly the priority of like, all right, like how can we attract the most amount of listeners possible, make the most money, not spend as much money, rather than more of a progressive minded, like, hey, like here are some ideas that we could do to continue to be relevant in the present, going on into the future. So it's a lot of that. It's a lot of that.
Sounds like, I mean, honestly, it sounds exactly the same as corporate America, right?
Yeah.
Honestly. I mean, so it's not so much what you're doing, it's the other stuff and the management of things that typically is problematic for people. Yeah.
And I know someone here in Vermont who worked in full-time in radio for a while and then sized it down to part-time, mostly because he was just tired of all the bullshit you have to deal with as a full-time employee and really wanted to get back to the roots of why he enjoyed radio. And if I had to do things differently, because like what I did was like when I decided to leave radio in 2024, like I left like cold turkey. Like I didn't even like do a gradual thing of like, all right, let me just go from full-time production director and on-air personality to just part-time on air. And then I'll see if that like positively affects my relationship with radio.
Did you do the like take this job and shove it deal on like live on air, like some of them guys?
No. Oh God, no. I definitely didn't Howard Stern it or anything like that.
Dynamite the bridge.
Yes, I was bitter and frustrated at the end of my radio career, but I was fortunate enough with my last job where it wasn't as toxic as a job like, I don't know, 2 jobs before that where I rage quit, like where I literally like just couldn't stand it and just decided that morning, I'm leaving, I'm sending an email and I'm not coming back. No, this last job that I worked in before I left radio for good, I was bitter, but I had my head on my shoulders enough to say, okay, I'm going to give a 2-week notice. I want to give this a full year before I decide to quit. So it was all professional. I said my goodbye on air very respectfully and just kind of left it at that. But certainly in the couple years since I've left radio, I've had like, regrets and what ifs, like, oh God, what if I just stayed on in a part-time on-air capacity? Maybe that would have been great. Maybe I could have like integrated my podcast audience with the existing radio audience and things like that. But my wife is a really good person to talk to about these things because she really puts me into focus and sets me straight as to like why I left in the first place, which was just, I was just tired of the toxic culture. I was tired of working for somebody else within a toxic culture. And I've always been someone who's loved to own my own shit and create my own shit and set my own terms. So that's what I've been doing for the past couple of years is, when I Uber and Lyft drive, that's me setting my own terms. I get to work whenever I want, take time off whenever I want. And with this podcast, it's once again, it's, you guys know, it's like you get to do whatever you want, right. Whatever topic and go as long as you want and release episodes whenever you want. Like, so being able to remember that, like, oh no, this is the dream for me. Like, I've always wanted independence. I've been afraid to fully commit to that for quite some time because you know how it is. I mean, you grow up and you look at radio and television, blah, 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 and you think like, oh, in order to do what I want to do, I need to have that validation from like this corporate executive level. And what's great about this day and age, where it's very DIY and everybody's making their own content, releasing it on the internet, is that you can take ownership of your success and your passion. You don't have to wait for this this grand established figure to give you the opportunity. So the last couple of years, I've just been leaning into that, and that's where I am right now.
As far as the radio thing, did it make any difference to you what market you were in? Say whether you're like a hard rock guy or a hip hop guy, and you know, like you only can land a job at a contemporary adult hit station or something, and you didn't like the music they played?
Well, format was definitely important. I mean, I was the kind of like energetic, goofy personality that fit with top 40. And then kind of next to that was like hot adult contemporary, which is basically a fancy way of saying like it's a mixture of top 40 of today, but also like music that your parents, sometimes grandparents, could vibe with from their day. Right. So top 40 hot adult contemporary. I did do an adult album alternative music format in Iowa for a while. And I was kind of surprised that they wanted me because like, you know, you listen to the personalities and it's very like NPR sleepy long form conversational style with the way they go in between songs. But I was lucky enough to, you know, have a boss who was like, no, like, you know, I love what you're doing with, you know, the top 40 work that I was doing in Connecticut at the time. And she, you know, thought that the radio station could use a bit of fun, a bit more personality. And that's what I came in to do. And, you know, I did cause some trouble every now and then because that's just what happens when, you know, I come from my background and then I'm infusing it into this more like mature background. So I was very conscious about what music formats fit for me as a personality. When you say market, like the first thing I thought of was like the towns and the cities that I would go to.
Yeah, I think I had the terms wrong there. Yeah.
No, that's okay. It's okay. You're good. Yeah, certainly when I was in the thick of it with radio, like I was definitely concerned about like, oh, I got to move up to this market, that market. Like once I found out that like there's sort of a hierarchy of markets that like, I don't know, if where I worked in Iowa, if that was actually like certified, considered a radio market, it would be like way on the 200 or 300 level of markets. And then, you know, you work all the way up to New York City, which is the number one market. I think once I left Iowa, that's when it sort of became a mission of like, oh God, I have to like, you know, keep going up markets and eventually get to the top. That was the goal for quite some time. And then, you know, the farthest I got was a medium-sized market. I think Albany, New York was like number 68. And it was during that time that I worked there that I realized that like, oh, like, you know, whether I work in a medium-sized market or a smaller market like in Iowa or Vermont, it feels the same. You know, you're doing the same kind of work. You're on the air talking to an audience in a quiet studio. You're posting on social media. You're doing live broadcasts at community events. Like, no matter if it's a small, medium, or maybe major market, it all feels the same. And then my value sort of shifted from like, oh, I got to have like the biggest market job to, well, if it all feels the same, okay, how about I have a job in radio and also keep my personal life in check. So when I moved to Albany, that was a period of time where I was already a couple years into my relationship with my wife. We were talking about, you know, wanting to get married, wanting to have a house and stuff like that. And she's been here in Vermont. So, you know, I had my few years in Vermont and then I, you know, took a brief detour in Albany. And I thought that, you know, me and my wife would try to make a long-term thing work where I would work and live in Albany and then commute up to Vermont on the weekends to see her. And then like 7 or 8 months into my Albany, New York tenure, I just realized like, oh no, this radio, this medium market, like, you know, big promotional radio job, it's not worth jeopardizing this growing relationship that I have with, my then girlfriend, then turned fiance, and now wife. So after 7 or 8 months of Albany, New York, I just decided that, trying to move up markets, like that just no longer became a priority for me anymore in terms of radio. It was just doing it and also having a great life outside of it, where I could have friends, I could have my wife, I could have the quality of life that I have here in Vermont that you don't really get in Albany, New York. So markets just suddenly didn't become important to me. And then that gave way to, after 8 years, radio no longer becoming the important thing that it used to be. So yeah, it's just funny. I mean, values change, your goals change over the course of time, and you can either beat yourself in the head for that because you think like, oh no, this is how my path should be, or you could just accept that, we're all changing, evolving human beings, and
right. How would a real radio guy? How do you feel about guys like Howard Stern or like where I'm from, Tampa? Bubba the Love Sponge. Love them or hate them. Those guys. They get a lot of drama and they get the money to go along with it. But I'm sure a lot of that bleeds into their personal life. But I mean, how do you feel about guys like that? Do you think they've kind of sold themselves out to get where they are?
So Bubba the Love Sponge, first of all, that's a fantastic name. And I've heard Howard mention Bubba the Love Sponge quite a bit on his show. Is he like kind of like a shock jock sort of thing like Howard has
That's exactly what he is. He pretty much just like Howard. I think they were both on that Sirius XM for a while. He was on Howard's channel. But he started in Tampa. Most of his career was in Tampa, but they used to have the strippers in the studio, and he gave away like boob jobs for contests, and like the kind of shock kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, there's a lot of Howard Stern's audience that thinks that he sold out. He's not as funny or as groundbreaking as he once was. My opinion of that is that it is unrealistic to expect the Howard Stern of now. I mean, he's like, what, 70 right now? I mean, if you could imagine a 70-year-old guy still doing what he was doing in his like 30s, 40s, 20s with the strippers and the really, really risque humor that he did, like that would be sad. So what I see it as like, oh, this man has evolved. Like he just has transitioned from his wilder, younger days to now, he's been in therapy, he's worked through some shit, and now he's just more mellow and is just more interested in, could be long form interview conversations. I mean, certainly like the first like 20 or 30 minutes of his show. I mean, you listen now, even now on Sirius XM, and you could still find the naughty Howard Stern of older days. But I just think he's grown up. He's just mellowed out, and that's great because I think that contributes to his longevity in the game.
I mean, do you think you can see yourself doing any of that stuff?
No, I thought no. I don't think I ever thought I would be like that. No, not. So here's the funny thing. I mean, when I was doing radio, like my energy gave off shock jock. Like I was, very obsessed with like coming up with crafty, witty, fun punchlines for every radio break. And the way I presented myself, program directors thought that I was trying to like shock and really get people's attention. And it was just, I don't know. It was a mixture of like, oh no, this is what I feel, but also I want to put on a really entertaining show. I care about the audience like actually being entertained. So, when I would list Howard Stern as an influence, like I think, there were some program directors that thought like, oh, okay, that's fine that you like Howard Stern, but maybe don't lean into that so much because that's not really what our identity is. I mean, what I think about Howard is I respect him. Like I really do. I don't listen to the show nowadays regularly like I used to, but I just respect his place in the game because I think Howard arguably is responsible for the podcasting boom that we have today. Because if you think about it, like, between podcasting and TikToking and whatever, like the key thing to all of the content that's being created on the internet today, it's authenticity. And I feel like Howard was like really the first big person to just say, fuck it, I'm going to come on the air and just be my full honest self. Yes, will a lot of the time he come off as an immature teenage boy with his jokes and whatnot. And sure, there's a lot of politically incorrect thing that stuff that he used to do back in the day. Yeah, absolutely. But I think what I always respect is that he just decided to do away with this sort of polished professional way that radio used to be done and just say, no, I'm just going to have fun, be honest, be myself, be vulnerable. So yeah, that for that, I will always respect him and occasionally check in on what he's doing nowadays. Yeah, I think I can hold two thoughts at the same time. I think I can have that respect and also say, all right, I'm not going to be a regular listener like I used to, because Howard he's a complicated personality. I mean, he not only can he be a little bit too immature for my taste, and certainly sometimes a little bit mean to his callers who call in, but also he's a man who can be very bitter. Like, he can let that bitterness out. I remember there's a period of time where he was just complaining about his contract, his relationship with SiriusXM, and just thinking like, wow, damn, you are at like the high mountain pantheon of radio personalities. I mean, the money you make, the stature you have, like, you are up there. And the fact that you're still unhappy and complaining as if you're any other small market radio person like myself.
Yeah, let me go home to my house in the Hamptons and cry about my contract.
Right. Yeah, it's that disconnect, right? It's that disconnect. Like, it's just, I mean, yes, he's Howard Stern. He's going to be honest about what he's feeling. That's what has made him successful. But yeah, when he would complain about stuff like that, which was certainly not relatable to the average listener, that kind of stuff can turn me off. So it's to a point with Howard where I check in every now and then. I personally think that it wouldn't be a bad thing to gradually make your way out of the radio game and lean into other parts of your life. He seems to be hanging on. He seems to have his identity so tied to radio that he, I guess, wants to do it forever. And that's his right. He's been in the game long enough. But yeah, I think I just have this sort of balanced view of like, wow, like, you are a god to anybody, not only in the radio world, but also in the authenticity content world, and also maybe leave.
Yeah. So pivoting just a little bit, you do Uber and Lyft driving there. Uber and Lyft driving now. I guess right off the bat, what's your worst drive and what's your best drive? You got to have some really interesting stories, I'd imagine.
Well, the best drive is always people who are down to have a conversation, and like so much like time just quickly passes by, like, because you enjoy the conversation so much. They're very kind. They ask questions of you. You ask questions of them. Like, so I think blanket statement, the best drive is those type of people. I love that. Makes my job a lot easier, because, otherwise it is a lot of monotone. Like, all right, pick this person up, and then most likely they're going to want to keep to themselves and listen to something on their headphones. And then I'm just listening to my own thing. So it's like this silent ride for however long. So when you have occasionally those people that are like, hey, how you doing? And blah, 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 blah. And on top of that, they can tip well because they appreciate the conversation that you gave them. That's always great. The worst people, probably the worst experience I had was this guy that I picked up from this pizza place, and he was just in this weird situation with his girl on speakerphone. He's talking loudly to his girl on speakerphone, and it seemed like some shit was happening between them, and he was very sorry, and she was accepting it, but like, it was like they were being very unnecessarily dramatic about it. Yeah, no, it was just
kind of a cringe situation, huh?
Yeah, very much. I mean, it's one thing to take that like on like, to your ear, but like to do it loudly on speakerphone as if I don't exist. It was just really odd. Like, oh baby, I'm so sorry. And then she on the other line, like, oh no, baby, that's okay. And I know you're gonna be in the military soon and fight for our country. Like, they were just talking like they were in a movie, like they were in this big dramatic movie where they fought like hell throughout it all, and then made up in the end. And
I'd be thinking, like, is somebody recording me? Like, is this really happening?
right. And of course, when I drop him off, they hug like crazy just in front of my car, like they're reuniting after 5 years apart because of some big fight. Of course, this woman like looks fucking homeless and sketchy and has no teeth. It's like, yeah, it just has all the inklings of like, oh, this is a couple that is just off their rocker and has no semblance of how to be a mature, common sense human being. Like,
they're drama llamas. You could tell they probably do that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And on top of that, like, you smell funny. And I mean,
I thought for sure you were going to say drunks was your worst one. Drunks
I
and
too.
like either puking in the back or like crapping their pants in the back.
Thank God. And this is why it's great to avoid the nighttime drives. I do daytime hours because one, I just need that for a better sleep schedule, better sanity. And also my wife, she has a regular daytime job and I want to be able to see her. And there was a time where I was working nights doing DoorDash deliveries and I barely ever see her. I was not sleeping well because I was getting home at like 2, 3 in the morning. And usually if I get home from work after midnight, I know I'm not going to sleep well. So to be able to have a schedule that's more better for sleep routine and also a better work-life balance with my wife, it's like the greatest thing ever. So because I work during the daytime, I'm more likely getting people that need to go to work, go to class, get a ride to the airport, like just very simple, quiet rides. Occasionally, if I'm not making enough money in the day, then I'll work into the night and then I'll, pick up the group of 4 that, want to get wild with their Halloween costumes or go out to the bar or restaurant, whatever. Like occasionally I can do that. But I think that if I like did that on the regular basis, then yeah, it would be a lot because I've certainly picked up some sketchy characters late into the night. I mean, I picked up somebody who was friendly, but he had a case of beer and he was talking like someone who was clearly a depressed alcoholic, and it just made me really uncomfortable. And you get some interesting creatures in the night. So
you ever had to tell anybody like just get out of my car? I don't want you here.
You know what? I said that very politely to this very sketchy, homeless seeming character. The guy must have been like 70 pounds, sweating and weird facial hair outlook. And I mean, he just came into my car all messy with like his 10,000 coins and a banana and a water bottle and and then, he needed me to drop him off to like this dispensary, and he spent like, God knows, like 20, 30 minutes longer than he should have there. So I was wondering like, oh, should I leave? Yeah. And then he smelled bad. So, yeah, when you have that kind of person that just doesn't seem quite all together, that's when, at the end of the ride, you're like, okay, cool. Like, get your stuff and leave. Because you're just kind of annoying me right now with not respecting my time, with, dropping your quarters and your banana all over the place and, things like that. Yeah.
No. Awesome. All right. Well, just trying to be cognizant of time. One question we like to ask all of our guests is, throughout our lives, there's invariably someone or, an individual that comes across that has a massive impact on our life, highly influential. This could be a 6th grade science teacher, historical figure, an author, could be mom. But we like to give our guests an opportunity to shout out someone that made that impact in their lives.
Yeah, so for me, it would be Jitu Huntley. When I was, 16, 17 years old, this must have been like the summer before my senior year of high school. And I was living in West Hartford, Connecticut. And I was, trying to, figure out what to do with my summer, how to, follow through on a passion rather than just like be bored. And I noticed, public access television station, West Hartford Community Television. I've always had an interest in show business of all aspects, but definitely like, I just remember watching TV a lot as a kid and being like, oh my God, this looks all awesome. I wonder how it all works. So I think it was like I was in like my high school library, and I saw the website, and I saw the place where you can reach out to the program coordinator, Jitu Huntley, and I inquired. I was like, hey, like what opportunities can I have? Like, do you have any volunteer? Do you have any employment opportunities? Like, well, how can I get involved? Because I'm interested in this. And he invited me to stop by for a visit, for a tour of the studio. And yeah, he showed me around the studio. I got to ask him questions, pick his brain about like, okay, this is how the cameras work. This is how the control board works when you're producing a show. He was mentioning all the volunteer opportunities that can come about, from producing your own show to working the camera on other people's shows to learning how to edit. And so I started doing that summer, and I started volunteering on other people's shows by, again, being a camera operator and such. And I think fast forward to maybe the summer following my freshman year of college, something like that, is when I had the confidence to produce my own content. And it started off very silly. I mean, I was interviewing blankets, like just any inanimate object I can think of. Like, I was interviewing them because I was too shy to interview actual people. So, blankets, a glass of water or whatever. And I would provide the voiceover. I would like pre-record voiceovers so those inanimate objects could talk. And I would kind of like splice together in the editing bay, like me talking to this inanimate object that was voiced by me. So I used to do that.
Where can we find this? I want to watch it. Sounds interesting.
Oh, I was actually talking to my wife about this the other day. I mean, if you really go into the deep recesses of YouTube, going back to like the early 2010s, I know that I called my show A Moment with Jon Francois. But that's what I definitely called it. Like when I got the confidence to like interview people. So I don't know if it was called that when I was interviewing inanimate objects, but if you like search in like Jon Francois, West Hartford Community Television, there's many things that I used to do from those days that are still up there. Smashing bags of ice with a hammer for no reason with my friend James. I was doing, God, what was I? Yeah, I don't know. I was just doing crazy Letterman-esque, like, how like Letterman in the 80s and such used to like throw stuff off the roof of buildings. And I was influenced by that. So I did a lot of crazy stuff in my public access show, kind of like that. And yeah, I would do man on the street interviews, asking the dumbest fucking questions. AC or box fan? What would you prefer, an air conditioning or a box fan in 90-degree weather? Like, it was just like, it was dumb shit. But, whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, thanks to Jitu, I was encouraged to like really let my creativity fly. And yeah, this was during my college years and immediately after my college years, where I thought I was going to be a professional actor, but then that didn't work out for me. But then this broadcasting thing that I got into was something that like vibed with me. So it was a really formative time in my life. And Jitu could have easily said like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, because literally every other show on that station was your typical public access show. It was like some middle-aged woman sitting down and just being like, all right, here we're going to talk about how the chakra can help your life. Or I don't know, they could be, talking to a wine expert or whatever. I mean, it was very muted shows like that, and then me just coming in being like, oh my god, I'm gonna go upstairs in the town hall where this station is and go through the dark halls and give you a tour of the dark halls of town hall at night when nobody is working. Like, it was just stupid shit like that. And that's all thanks to Jitu. Jitu was just very instrumental in that sort of early mid-20s part of my life where I was trying to figure out who I was, trying to explore my creativity. And eventually I moved to Iowa for my first full-time job in radio after working part-time in radio for quite a bit in Connecticut. And from there, I felt like I took off. I was like, all right, like, let me just like really lean into this zany creative thing that I'm doing, first with public access, then with radio, now with podcasting. yeah, I owe a big thing of gratitude to Jitu, and we occasionally keep in touch. He'll occasionally send me videos on social media of Steve Urkel stuff because he knows that I used to do a Family Matters recap podcast. But yeah, and he doesn't work there anymore. I think he works. I think he still works for ESPN, which I heard. I feel like they're leaving Bristol, Connecticut, and they're now headquartered somewhere else now. But yeah, no, I just have a great amount of affection for Jitu Huntley because he, as a fellow man of color who was also in the TV production space, he saw a lot of me in him, and as an older sort of role model figure, decided to just give me a shot and just let me fly and find myself. And I feel like I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't have that chance to just really create and fail and learn. I mean, yeah, not only did I learn who I was as a personality, but literally all the production, editing skills, like stuff that I know how to do with the podcast, like that, it goes right back to those public access days, you know?
That's awesome.
So I owe it a lot. I owe a lot of gratitude to Jitu. I think he was really instrumental in my growth.
Awesome. All right. Well, where can people find you? What do you got going on? What are you working on? What's coming next?
Sure. So right now I'm doing my podcast, The Delicious Culture with Jon Francois, for any of your listeners, and you guys included. If anybody wants to come on and share their fascinating story, because I think everybody is fascinating and has a great story to tell. And also, if anybody wants to share like what, delicious meal, pop culture obsession, and life event they really want to share, please reach out, thedeliciousculture@gmail.com, thedeliciousculture@gmail.com. And you can also, follow me on Instagram and TikTok at The Delicious Culture. Send me a DM and I'd love to respond and follow up with you and get you on the podcast. The Delicious Culture with Jon Francois is available pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to us on Apple, SiriusXM, Amazon, and Spotify. You can listen and watch us. You can watch us on YouTube. Yeah, we're pretty much anywhere that people consume podcasts. The Delicious Culture with Jon Francois. Just search that. Jon, last name Francois. That's how you spell my name. And besides that, I occasionally act. I like to act in theater, sometimes TV and film stuff. So if you live in Vermont like I do, maybe you'll catch me acting in another local theater production. And if you live in Vermont, specifically Burlington, then maybe you'll end up having me pick you up as an Uber and Lyft driver, because that's what I do for 40 plus hours a week.
Awesome.
So that's about it. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for giving us some of your time, and thank you for giving us some of your time. You know where you can find us? We're everywhere. Just, do the thing. Find us. Give us a like. If you don't like us, give us a thumbs down. Leave us a comment.
Oh, no, don't do that.
Tell us. We'll respond. We'll respond in kind. And remember, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this, have an amazing day.
Thanks, John. See you, everybody.
Thank you.